What's going on? How y'all doing today? I just wanted to holler at you, you know what I mean? Give you another video. Trying to find some better light. Yeah, that's better. Alright. So, that's too much light. That's better. Alright. So, I wanted to come and give y'all another video and just have y'all, understand the thinking of a man who has a mind of his own. And so today I wanted to come and talk to you about big business and capitalism in America. And I basically am trying to get people to understand that there's something really seedy about the corporations, especially the big ones, in our country. And we could, hearken on the mere fact that, the way they pay their taxes is, what's the best term here? Just flat out, to me, treasonous. I mean, they're quick to say other people are treasonous, or allow the media to call people like Edward Snowden treasonous. And what he did, I guess, could be perceived as treasonous, but what he was trying to do was open people's eyes out. And I'll be looked at eventually that way too, because I'll be talking about things they don't want you to understand or comprehend. And me personally, there's only one person I fear, or one being I fear, and that's God, my Lord and Savior. So, telling you the truth, I'm not perfect, but what I'm going to get back to is that capitalism is just bad. And the thing why I say capitalism is bad, is that I'm going to start this off, and it's probably going to be a part series. Capitalism really started to roar its ugly head prior to World War I in the United States. You'll find out quickly I'm a historian nut, so I know a lot of history. And basically, you had guys who were robber barons. These are tycoons who had taken over industries like the railroad and oil, and you could look all this stuff up. Or you could actually go watch a video on YouTube called Rich Man's Trick, and it'll go into exact detail. Standard Oil, the railroad system, J.P. Morgan, people like that, Prescott Bush, people way back in those times are considered some robber barons, as an example. But getting back to my point, what these people were able to do was to get such a market share, such a foothold in the market share, that they basically cornered the market early. We're talking the turn of the 20th century. Guys are making $25 million, $30 million in J.P. Morgan. People like Prescott Bush, not necessarily Prescott Bush, but you'll understand what I'm saying if you look this information up. These guys were able to corner certain sectors of the market to such a degree that they literally took everything over at the turn of the 20th century. And what became the situation was that they became so greedy that it bled over into other industries. They figured, well, we're already controlling the railroad, the oil, the cotton. What's the other thing in the 1900s, the turn of the century that was really big that we were exploiting? I know it was those three things to start off, and there are other things, and these are things I want you to go look it up, and don't take my word for it. Robber barons, just look that word up, or just go look up rich man's trick on YouTube. Back to my point. They cornered the market in such a way to start bleeding over into other industries, textiles, because at that point we're talking about when clothing and materials like that started to go on, like cosmetics, food, transportation of every kind. And back then, the railroad was the ideal. So that means they can control everything. And it became a kind of Beanie Siegel type, he rehashed something that had been around before probably half the people in his generation, which was the get down or lay down situation. And it was pretty much what you see on movies. It was like, okay, we're coming in, we're buying up all this stuff. We could just give you some money for whatever we want, or we could take it from you. And obviously they wouldn't give you what the market value was for whatever the industry is applicable. And this kept growing. And to the point where they actually decided to go overseas. They had become so rich and so powerful. And if you think I'm lying, this is public information. You can look this up and find this information out for yourself. I beg you to look this information up for yourself. So they became so powerful that they went abroad to Europe and places over there to actually flex and exercise their get down or lay down style of capitalism, because that's what it was. It's like, we have the biggest and the baddest, and we have enough money to back it up. If you don't do what we say, when they would go over to Europe, instead of actually making the kind of trouble they can make for you here, they just simply call the police on you. Call the police, set a fire, do something that doesn't directly link them to the crime, and get you out of there. And that was how they did it. And then they kept growing again. And this is something no one will believe, but if you go look it up, it's actual fact. Go look it up. They got so big till they needed a actual group of thugs that they can control. And that they could control and actually move in a way that was actually beneficial for them. The whole time, the thugs wouldn't be chanting these companies' names. The thugs would be chanting something that would take your mind away from what these guys are coming in the back door doing. Because at the same time that this was happening, arose a 3-letter group called the CIA. Out of the interest of business, the CIA was born. Not out of war, not out of the actual fact of we need to protect American citizens. No. It was we need to protect American businesses. And this is how they took over the business. Now, the problem is, at the same time, you had the Bolshevik Revolution coming towards Europe. And the Bolshevik Revolution was completely contrary to capitalism. It followed Marx. I'm not going to go into it. Go look up what Marx thought of capitalism and what he thought of all that. And actually read what he actually said about that. Because when you read what a guy wrote almost 100 and some years ago, it sounds eerily similar to what's actually taking place. Then that's when you realize something stinks to high heaven. I mean, it stinks so bad that you have to then recognize that this thing that goes around, that the land of the brave, the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Yeah, I don't know about that one. It's like the land of the free enterprise and the home of the greatest Khan. Because we're running around so wholesome in the forefront, but in the shadows, we've been doing some bad things. And we've tried to rationalize why we do the bad things. Back then, it was the actual interests of American companies. But that slowly changed to national security. Do your homework. Look at the language they use and how it's changed. National security overseas? Why do we have so many bases that are in other people's countries to this day? Like, we're like that thing that just doesn't go away. Why is that? It's because we're always going to put our interest first over everybody else's interest. That is how capitalism works. That means we're not going to take a loss in order to benefit something that is right. We're just going to eliminate what they need, or eliminate them, so that we can continue to make our money. And you could look at how companies cut corners and do things right now, because I'm going to take a break from the past stuff and give you an example of why you need to be very worried about capitalism, and why my next statement is going to be what it is. Boeing put a plane out that killed, almost 600, 700 people in 2 different accidents. I don't know what the totality is, but they had 2 severe accidents. And the worst part about it is, when you get the gist of what really took place there, when you really dive deeper in what took place there, it should alarm you. They put a new system in and didn't even tell their pilots. I don't understand how you put a new flight, a new system in, but don't tell your pilots. And then you don't even really test it yourself, so you have no idea that this automation, because that's basically what it is, an automated computer program, is taking over in situations where the pilot is supposed to have that ability to override that, and not allowing the pilot to override it. It's kind of weird, because if you've ever seen the movie Airplane 2, it's the exact scenario which happens in Airplane 2, only the people don't die. The point being is, here's a big company, huge government contract, rushing to get its product to the market. How do you allow this plane, the 737 bus, with this new technology, to not have the proper training? You know why? Because they had billions of dollars of guaranteed money in front of them, and they told people, we could give you something quicker than they should have. And this is what continues to happen throughout all of the industries. I'll give you another example. We'll go back to 2000. Yes, 2000. Sony PlayStation 2s. A lot of you guys don't remember this. They shipped 1 million right before Christmas. Turns out 500,000 of those, 500,000 of those units were defective, had problems. They had to be fixed. Here's another example of how big business just continues to hit the market and do things to the market that you or I, as an individual sole proprietor or LLC business, would not be allowed to do and stay around. Big business is all about protecting their interest. And I keep trying to explain to people, you spend money with companies who don't think like you, who don't look like you. It's not that they don't look like you. Because that's not the issue. It's that they don't think like you. They don't really understand what it is to work check to check. That they have no semblance of that. The mere fact that they give people golden parachutes after these guys have already been making $5-6 million a year. This guy's leaving, and they could be leaving on some stuff that was his fault and cost the company and its clients money. Golden parachute. Let's give him $200 million to go away. The whole game's rigged. And the whole problem is like, there's only one way to play a rigged game like that. Is like understanding the system. And when you don't have to go with big business, you don't. You find ways around it. There's no true way around big business. Big business is everywhere. But you have to be smart. Like if you eat McDonald's or any fast food on a regular basis, I hope and pray that you get a better financial situation so that McDonald's does not become your way of living. I truly do, and I pray that you start to learn how to cook on your own. And I mean that. I'm not trying to be a smart ass. I'm trying to be serious. Stop spending money with these companies who don't think like you. They don't come out and say, hey, minorities getting shot by the cops. This is something we need to have a community relationship. And if I was a big leader of any company in any of these cities where this is happening, I do it, but they're instructed not to. And that's a whole nother topic. But regardless, it doesn't happen. We don't get that kind of conversation. We don't get that kind of talk. We don't get that kind of talk out of the older athletes, barely. And I'm glad to see guys like LeBron and the younger guys kind of get into it a little bit more and speak out. But the problem is, it's so big. God's the only one that's going to set this straight. And I'm not saying big business couldn't work if they actually, first of all, paid their taxes, paid the workers the right amount. Like, they're not paying people livable wages. Like, anybody who makes less, and I do mean this, less than $10 an hour, actually realistically $12 an hour, is struggling. And the problem is that they tell us, oh, we can't afford to pay people that much money. See, that's where big business gets hit. Tries to play both sides of the field. And that's where I can't stand it. How can you not afford to pay them that when you have, let's see, usually somewhere in the neighborhood of most of these companies have 10 to 12 vice presidents of whatever that are making huge salaries that actually really 4 people could do, but normally they'll have 12 of them. I've been in a company where you have all these vice presidents and all they are yes men because they're afraid if they say anything out of line, they're going to get disciplined or looked at differently. I've seen it. And you're on the conferences with them and they come up with these wacky ideas and they got all this spunk, and it's like, dude, really? We see through all that. We see the BS. You don't need all that. But the companies insist on it. They have to make sure that those VPs have an actual purpose for being there when their real purpose is just to be in the way. Take up salary from their actual workers who are actually on the front line. And this goes across every field and industry in the world. I've been wanting to get this off my chest for a while, and I ain't even halfway done because I still need to go. I haven't even told you what kind of thugs, corporate thugs, we actually wind up hiring. And if you've seen Rich man's trick, then you know who the corporate thugs were that we hired. And if you think I'm lying, I've looked the information up after. Actually, while I was watching it, I would pause the movie and be like, this isn't factual. I'm not watching any more of this. If I can't find like 3 or 4 articles, not by one person and not by an article group that I prefer, I want someone I wouldn't actually look at and see what they say. And I can tell you, all sit in that for hours. I was pretty much able to confirm just about 90% of everything I saw. That's why I'm here trying to tell people, wake up. They're lying to you every day with a straight face. And they're telling you they're patriots, but their roots will tell you something so much more sinister. But you're afraid. I used to be afraid, so I know what it's like. See, we come to a certain point. Afraid of what? Death. Look at me. Do I look like I'm afraid of death? Not at all. And if you really knew my heart, me and death are kind of like this, right? Been like this. So, I accept death. It's coming. But I'd rather stand up and say, hey, I'm wrong too. I do some wrong things. And I know some people would love to say, oh, well, we'll expose some of the things you do. Yeah, you could. But guess what? Mine don't impact millions of people. Mine, whatever I do, okay, whatever I have done, oh well. I'm a human being. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. That's the problem. People are quick to say, oh, you're a hypocrite or you're this and that. We're all hypocrites. If you're not a hypocrite, you're probably not a human being. So the point I'm going to make, and I'm going to finish up with this, is make your mistakes, but learn from it. Why do you have to keep doing the same wrong thing over and over and over again, and just basically, in some instances, beating people up with the stuff that's going on in the world? Can big business at some point reform itself? Sure it can. I never want to be fatalistic or it's over. There's no chance for hope. There's always chance for change. But the problem is, there's always that but. But they don't want to. And you can see it. They don't want to. That's okay. I have inner peace. And when you have inner peace, that defies all logic. Me and my flaws, I can look myself in the mirror and know, step by step, I'll get it together. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm never going to claim to be perfect. But I would if I had the chance. I changed several things about myself. And I do it over again. And I'm hoping by this video, people understand. We go out, we buy money, we buy stuff with our money with these companies. And we need to hold on to our money. We need to save our money. And actually recognize buying out Jordans, iPhones, all that's doing is perpetuating this thing that's going on, where we're not getting things done. Bridges and overpasses are crumbling in cities everywhere. Roads are terrible. We need that tax money. We need the big companies to start paying their way. We need them to change their way. And if not, we need to hold on to our dollar. See, that's when you savvy. See, that's when you're using this up here. That's when you gangster. Because when you can hold the gangsters up by holding your money from them, that's being a true gangster. I don't want to spend my money with them, and Christmas is right around the corner. And I'm gonna hold on to what little bit I got. And if anybody don't understand why I'm gonna be tight with mine, I'm gonna get a little bit here, a little bit there. But there's a reason why. Let them show me something, some reason why I need to start spending my money with them again before I start to spend my money on a regular basis. And until such time, I will continue to quietly buy what I like when I like it. I'm not boycotting anybody. It's not a boycott. Because see, a boycott comes to an end. People stop doing that after a while. This ain't no boycott. This is me recognizing the system's not going to play me like it plays a lot of other people and tricks them into spending their money with them. And they give them their money, and they take their money and use it right against you in policies and people they elect. Think about it. You think I'm lying? People who have a brain recognize what I'm saying. And I'm trying to get through to some of you newer people to understand before you go down a rabbit hole. Hold on to your money. Because in the end, there'll come a day where something might happen where you might need your cash. And just think, the day before you went out and bought out the mall, and the next day a disaster happens where if you just had a couple more bucks, you might make it, or something good might happen. You might survive. That's how I look at it, because a disaster is coming too. And that's another video for another day. There's a great disaster coming. Because we need a wake-up call, and people don't realize it. Those fires is one of them. Big business is another. We need to stop. Hold on to our money, please. Stay at home, cook an extra meal a week. How about that? How about that challenge? The I'm gonna stay at home and cook an extra meal a week challenge. Nah, see, that won't fly. Because then big business is like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, that means they're not out spending money in other sectors. That wouldn't fly. That's a fly in the ointment of the big cog. So, like I said, I wanted to holler at you, and there's going to be a part 2 to this. This is called Why You Need to Curtail How Much Money You Give to the Corporate Thugs. I'm going to hold out as long as I can, and I ain't going to be afraid of whatever happens. Hold on to your money. Save it. Do whatever. But just be smart about how you spend it all together. Look up the companies you spend money with, you invest with. Find out who you're doing business with. You do it for all the other shit you shouldn't do it for. Do it for something you're supposed to. You never know. I'm out.